Welcome, 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 everyone. Welcome to CarnivorousGrama Speaks Women of Wisdom series. My name is Robin Heron, and I am your carnivorous grandma. And I'm supposed to have a guest with me tonight. She has not arrived yet, so hopefully she'll show up pretty soon. And if so, we'll go ahead and introduce her at that time. I do want to read my scripture for today. And so let's go ahead and do that while we are waiting. If it's Proverbs 14:1, and it says, "A wise woman builds her house, while a foolish tears it down with her own hands." And I love that scripture for, of course, my Women of Wisdom series. I always read that scripture because it speaks to me profoundly about the impact that women have in health, nutrition, with food and eating, and all of those things. And so we're building a physical house, our bodies, as well as we are building a spiritual house. And so I love that scripture, and I always read it when I'm doing my Women of Wisdom series. So in the event that we do not have a guest tonight, I do have a topic that I want to talk to you guys about. And I've been thinking about this. I don't know if you guys have seen the new food pyramid, but I want to talk about that tonight if our guest does not show up. So hopefully she'll come in a few minutes. If she does, we will pivot. But in the meantime, let's take a look at this new food pyramid, you guys. Have you guys seen the new website for the new food pyramid? I'm going to bring it up really quick and share it on my screen so you can have a look at it. Let's see here. I'll share. This is right here. The website is eatrealfood.gov. And here you can, of course, see the brand new food pyramid and how they have flipped the pyramid upside down. Now, I know that you guys know that over here, I've been doing last fall, I was doing a whole series of conversations, CarnivorousGrama Speaks, on the topic of the food pyramid and nutrition transparency and how that food pyramid was upside down and backwards. Do you guys remember that? So what they've done is they have literally flipped the food pyramid over. And I think that this is a great start. Like, this is a great start. It is what I'll say, a great step in the right direction as far as nutrition is concerned. It's talking about eating real food. As you can see from the food pyramid, they have prioritized from left to right. They prioritized protein, dairy, and healthy fats. And I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about the pyramid, and then I'm going to go into what I think are the problems that we still have with this, and that what we're going to see as far as concerns, and hoping that they will continue to refine this further. So protein, dairy, and healthy fats. The next thing is vegetables and fruits, and various serving sizes of that per day. And then down at the very bottom, we've got those whole grains and fiber, right? So, and we're supposed to really limit that to only a couple of servings a day. So, as I said, I really think that this is a great step in the right direction. We've for like 40 years or so, we've been told that we should be eating very small servings of lean meat. We should not be having fat. I don't know if you guys remember back when they took butter and said that butter was bad for you, unhealthy, a healthy natural fat, that they said that it basically was unhealthy for you. And so, so I think, again, this is a step in the right direction. There are certain things that the new food pyramid is getting right. And so the main thing that I think is going to really, really benefit people is the elimination of these ultra processed foods. And so when we think about focusing on real food, eat real food, we keep saying it's the food, the food's a problem. We're struggling with health related issues because we're eating all the wrong foods, right? So eating real food is critical to that. So, and when we're talking about eating, of course, you guys all know that I'm a carnivore. I eat primarily meat-based. I don't eat any fruits or vegetables or any kind of grains at all. I just eat meat. But if you were to just go to strictly eating meat and fat and vegetables, I think that that's a great option, right? And eliminating ultra processed foods like who is this person? Raphael Revere. Hello there. Okay, yes, I do eat food. Yes, I eat I eat meat. And so ultra processed foods. So when I'm talking about that, I'm thinking in terms of things like Doritos, Takis, that's not food, right? It's ultra processed, finely grained flour, milled flour. It's ultra processed. So they got that right. They got the higher protein target right. I mean, I feel like they've done a great benefit to people by bringing protein back into the picture. Uh, and acceptance of animal-based foods, including red meat, because red meat is a critical component for human beings, right? And full fat dairy. So you guys know, if you go a lot of times in the schools, they will give the kids 2% milk. I remember when this switch happened when my kids were young, and I'm like, why are we going to this 2% milk? But anyway, or fat-free milk. So now we're going back and we're saying that fat is really important, and it is very, very important for human beings, right? This new food pyramid does acknowledge the fact that the new food guidance, I'll call it, does acknowledge the fact that lower carb diets may be beneficial for people with chronic disease. So we see constantly people are being having this metabolic syndrome, which is causing all manner of diseases. I mean, the top one that a lot of people talk about is type 2 diabetes, but metabolic syndrome is something that happens, and that type 2 diabetes really is it shows the progression of many years of metabolic syndrome. And so low carb diets can reverse metabolic syndrome very, very easily, and also many, many chronic diseases. And so, lower carb diets are really, really beneficial in that regard. And then it does not tolerate at all. If you look at the guidance, it says do not add any added sugar, particularly for children. So, and over here on CarnivorousGrama Speaks, we talk all the time about the fact that your body can only handle one added extra teaspoon of sugars, of added sugars, before you're overloaded and your glucose is spiking and your insulin is rushing out to try to accommodate for that. And so we end up with this problem called metabolic syndrome. So I love the fact that they have said that that 0 added sugars is the amount that we should be having. And so that's absolutely, absolutely true. And so we had a disaster on our hands, and we can see that all around us as we see how the sickening of the world, basically, based on the guidance that was coming out about food, nutrition, and eating. So again, I did this nutrition transparency series back in the fall, talking about the fact that the food pyramid was wrong. It was upside down. It was backwards. It just was not making sense in terms of longevity, health, and the benefits for our society, right? So this is a huge step away. I mean, really, it's like 40 years. It's a huge step away from this low fat, high grain heavy, where they tell you to eat all these breads per day, certain amount of carbohydrates per meal, and all of that. And so it was really fueling a disaster for us from a metabolic health standpoint. So here's what I see as the problem with the new food pyramid. It still centers around glucose as the default fuel, okay? And so it still assumes that we should run primarily on glucose rather than on ketones or ketogenic diets that allow our body to run on the fat, burn the fat off of your body, right? And so that is a key flaw that I see. We see here that whole grains are still incorporated, 2 to 4 servings of whole grains per day. Whole grain equals sugar, just so you know. We're talking about, doesn't matter if you talk about flour, you're talking about oatmeal, you talk about all those various whole grain foods, whole grain quinoa, whole grain brown rice, all of those things convert to glucose in your system. And so that is a high sugar problem. And if we talk about the fact that you can only accommodate, or your body can only handle 1 additional teaspoon, 4 carbohydrates, 4 carbs is 1 teaspoon of sugar. So if you're eating whole grains, high whole grains, you're still eating a lot of carbohydrate, which equals a lot of sugar. So whole grains is still glucose, and that fiber in there does not cancel your insulin response to that. So if you are a person who is insulin resistant or has metabolic syndrome, right, that incorporation of whole grains could be hugely problematic for you. It's going to increase your insulin demand, increase your glucose, block fat metabolism, right? So we want to be able to metabolize our fat and burn fat off of our bodies, right? And it does enforce for metabolic inflexibility because we're still on a high glucose way of eating, high sugar way of eating. So I would have loved to see them remove those whole grains from the food pyramid as something that we should not be eating, right? Oh, so somebody in here is saying, this is at G-Ball Development LLC says, I agree with this. For once, I agree with the Trump policies. Well, yeah, for once, right? I hear you, G-Ball Development. Yeah, I mean, that it's a great move in the right direction. That's what I will say. And then Mighty Aries 66 is saying, I doubt that the orange guy will follow the new pyramid. I thought about that myself this week. Like, I know that that he enjoys a lot of McDonald's. And so I wondered this same question, like, that's highly processed. Now, I do eat McDonald's, you guys. I will say that I do get the burger patties. I get the quarter-pound patties, and I enjoy them. But as far as French fries and burger buns and sauces and all that other stuff that they have at McDonald's, you know, I think that stuff is not food. So that's my opinion on that. So I think that if our food pyramid was really, truly designed to address metabolic disease fully, it would place grains at minimum as optional or conditional. Like, you know, if you are metabolically healthy, hey, Mark, hey, cousin, so good to see you here. Thank you for stopping by. If you are truly metabolically healthy, maybe you could accommodate a little bit of this whole grain. But if you have metabolic syndrome, right, you should not be consuming whole grains. You shouldn't be eating rice, pasta. You shouldn't be eating oatmeal, you know, flour, all those kinds of things. So that is what I think, you know, it would have been a great step. It is optional. Like, we do not need whole grains to live a healthy life from a human perspective. You know, there are only 2 macronutrients that are required for humans to consume for us to live a healthy life. And that is fat and protein, and carbohydrates are strictly not required. Okay. All right. So here's the next problem that I see is that fruit and vegetables are treated as universally beneficial, right? So it's saying 3 servings of vegetables and 2 servings of fruit each day. Here's the problem. It's sugar. It's carbohydrates, right? And so fruits are fructose dominant, and fructose is metabolized in the liver. It does promote the generation of fat generation on your body. It worsens fatty liver and insulin resistance when consumed chronically. So remember they said eat an apple a day, an apple every day. That's problematic, right? Because it does have the fructose and it is metabolized in the liver, causing fatty liver. Now, have you guys heard of this non-alcoholic fatty liver disease? People are dying just like alcoholic. Like if they were an alcoholic, it would do the same thing to their liver. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease caused by this problem of too much sugar in the liver, too much glucose in the liver, fructose is hugely problematic. And then so from a vegetables perspective, all vegetables are not created equal, honestly, right? So some vegetables are very, very starchy, high carbohydrate. I'm thinking about potatoes, right? Corn. Those things are very high in sugar, right? High carbohydrate. And so some are low glycemic, but I want to just bring this example. I talk about this a lot of times because very low carbohydrate, but yet you can see the math, right? So green beans for one half cup serving of green beans, it's about 6 carbohydrates. So very low carb, very low on the glycemic index. However, 4 carbohydrates is 1 teaspoon of sugar. So if you have eaten a full serving of green beans, you've already gone over your daily allocation, allotment, whatever you want to call it, of sugar for the day, right? And that's just with green beans. That's not even like the green beans and the mashed potatoes or the rice, all the sauces that you put on everything that has so much sugar in it. So you can't consider vegetables as a silo, right? They're not all created equally. And so that's a problem. So, depending on the impact, again, depending on your metabolic flexibility, depending on your metabolic health, are you insulin resistant? Do you have metabolic syndrome? That should determine whether or not you allow for any fruits or vegetables into your way of eating. So again, the new food pyramid, while it's taking a great step in the right direction, it is ignoring a lot of the metabolic context, which is the problem that we have. If you look all around you, you can see that our society is very sick. And we are unwell. 97% of Americans are metabolically unhealthy, metabolically unwell, leaving, what is that? No, I think it's 93%. I'm sorry. So look, 7% of people are actually metabolically healthy. And so that is a huge, huge problem, which is why I think that they went ahead and changed the food pyramid, because it's a huge problem. It's costing us billions, probably, and trillions of dollars with all of this metabolic sickness that we have and causing all manner of diseases. Okay. So let's talk about fat. So we talked about the 2 macronutrients that are required for human sustainment, right? And that being fat and protein. So they're capping saturated fat at less than 10% of calories. I think that is probably almost 100% backwards. I think that at a minimum, we need to be eating 50% fat. for our health and wellness, right? So they're capping saturated fat at 10%. So this limit is literally not supported by any causal evidence. Saturated fat doesn't cause insulin resistance. And if you see the new studies that are coming out, it doesn't drive heart disease in metabolically healthy individuals. And then when you replace saturated fat, when I'm talking about saturated fat, I'm talking about animal fat like butter, ghee, tallow, duck fat, all those kinds of fats, which are the types of fats that I use and have been using for the past almost 3 years, right? So when you replace the saturated fat, now you're looking at replacing that with something like a seed oil, canola oil, vegetable oils, sunflower oil, safflower oil. Those are all highly toxic to the human body. And they stay within your body for many, many years. They really, really cause a problem from a mitochondrial perspective. They're doing damage to your body. So if you are still utilizing vegetable oil, Crisco, if you're still utilizing canola oil, what is a canola anyway, right? What is that? And corn oil, safflower, all those different oils, you really need to eliminate that because it's highly, highly toxic. I did not see in the guidance, and I'm still kind of reading through it and understanding it. I did not see in the guidance where they actually took out the seed oils. Seed oils are causing a lot of damage. In fact, I feel that they are comparable to sugar. Like the sugar is doing so much damage and the seed oils are doing just as much damage. In fact, when I consume seed oils, it causes me to have skin breakouts, like my eczema flares up. It causes like congestion, it causes inflammation, all kinds of things like that. So seed oils leads to oxidative stress and worsens your metabolic outcome, right? So fats should be judged by their oxidative stability and hormonal impact, not an outdated cholesterol hypothesis, which we know that we talk about high cholesterol and how there's this cholesterol heart health fallacy that's out here as far as, consuming cholesterol will give you a heart attack. So this is being debunked daily. You guys should do a little bit of research on that if you're curious about it. So protein is being acknowledged. You can see that protein is at the top of the food pyramid, but it's half and half with vegetables, right? So protein is getting good credit at this point, but it's still grouped with dairy and fats. It's competing visually with carbohydrate sources. So if you look at that top of the pyramid, and I'll show it again, you look at the top of the pyramid, it's showing you that meat and vegetables are on the same level. And that's actually incorrect in my opinion. And it's not clearly framed as a primary metabolic anchor. So from a metabolic standpoint, what does protein do? It stabilizes your blood sugar. It preserves lean mass. It improves satiety and supports mitochondrial function, right? So if this pyramid was geared toward metabolic health, it would place protein on the top level, above everything else. Protein and fat would be above everything else, and then everything else down from there, certain things as optional. So one of the things that I noticed as I was reading through this new food guidance is that they're still utilizing a concept called calories. And calories is a construct that does not necessarily work within the human body, right? So calories in, calories out, we have discovered does not work. For those of us that have done many, many diets and have dieted over the years, they basically, this calorie construct does not work. Think about this. Back, I don't know if it was in the 80s, late 80s, they came out with these, or maybe the early 90s, they came out with these 100-calorie packs. You remember those? 100-calorie pack of, like, let's say Oreo cookies or Cheez-Its, 100 calories, and then equivalated that with the same thing, 100 calories of broccoli or 100 calories of meat is the same as this 100-calorie pack of ultra processed food, right? So, basically, calories are a construct. It does not work. And our bodies don't combust and burn calories in the way that, that it takes for them to come up with this construct of calories, right? So our guidance is leaning on portion control, which is a fallacy. It doesn't work. Calorie awareness. I don't even consider calories at all in my way of eating anymore. I don't look at calorie density, or if I'm going to look at any kind of a metric, I would be looking at protein and fat ratios, which I don't do. So I don't consider calories at all. I don't consider like portion control. I eat when I'm hungry. I eat till I'm full, and I don't eat if I'm not hungry. Very, very simple and straightforward, the approach that I have with my primarily meat-based way of eating. And so that works for me. And so we eat the amount that is right for us. And I don't know if you guys have heard of intuitive eating. I guess I would consider it in that category. If you're eating the right food that's appropriate for your body, you can eat intuitively and your body will level out. And that's what I have discovered over the course of this almost 3 years, right? So here's the truth about energy balance. Hunger is hormonally driven. There are hormones that indicate to you that you are hungry. The two hormones I'm talking about are leptin and ghrelin, right? To tell you I'm hungry and I'm full, right? And then insulin controls your fat storage and fat release. If you have high insulin, you will not be able to burn fat off of your body. And so when you have high glucose, unless you have some other issue, pancreatic issue, maybe you're type 1 diabetic or something like that, or maybe you're on insulin. When your insulin is high, when your glucose is high, your body is fighting for its life, trying to keep that glucose balanced by utilizing insulin, which is another hormone, right? And so insulin is going to be the determinant. When your insulin is low, your body is able to burn stored fat. And so that's basically what we are, those of us that are in the ketogenic community, either we're carnivore or we're ketovore or we're keto, we're trying to burn fat off of our bodies by using food to do it, right? And so we're not using a calorie construct that really doesn't work in practice. And I think that many of us have discovered that over the years as we have tried all the diets. That stuff just doesn't work. All right. So that calorie construct doesn't determine your metabolic health, your metabolic wellness. And basically it just doesn't work, right? So we are not focused on having enough willpower to burn the fat off of our bodies. We're letting our body burn that fat naturally by eating the proper food. And so hopefully that's making sense to you. All right, let me see what else we have here in the comments. With the 10% saturated fat cap, the way we eat, we would die of rabbit starvation if we listened to the guide. 100%. You got to be at least, if you're going to be on a meat-based way of eating, you need to be 50-50 at least. 10% saturated fat it's going to cause a problem from your brain health, metabolic health. It will cause a problem. So we will not be reducing our fat. In fact, I'm constantly telling people to increase your fat, increase your fat, increase your fat. Don't eat any fruits and vegetables. All right. So what's missing from this new food guidance? A couple of things that are missing. All right. So, I'm all about the nutrition transparency, as you know, because I've been doing series on that, talking about it. Insulin resistance is the root cause driver of chronic disease. So where in the new food guidance are they telling us that the insulin, it's the food that's driving insulin resistance that is the driver of a lot of metabolic disorders. And so this is something that we need to really realize. It's why I'm doing coaching, why I'm doing a show every Monday night, Hey Sister Girl, where we're talking about this, why I'm here on Saturday nights talking about, what can we do to improve our health through food and eating, right? And so hyperinsulinemia, meaning that your insulin is chronically high, is a huge problem. And when you have high glucose, high sugar diet, you're going to end up with hyperinsulinemia because, and I'm going to tell you guys my little Pac-Man analogy because this is how I think about it, right? So you consume something that has sugar. Let's say we're consuming that 2 to 3 servings of healthy whole grains and our glucose is shooting up, right? Then insulin has to come out. I think about it like Pac-Mans. It's got to come out and try to deal with that sugar, right? And over time, you have this more and more insulin having to come out to deal with the same amount of sugar. That's insulin resistance. Your cells cannot be unlocked by the same amount of insulin to allow it to deal with or metabolize that sugar. Hey, Keto Simple. Hey, Dustin. How are you? Good, good, good. I'm glad to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Right. So I put that simple analogy there of the Pac-Mans because that is literally how simple it, to me, when I simplify it down, I boil it down, it seems very straightforward. Like, how many Pac-Mans do you need to come out and take care of the amount of glucose that you're putting, right? You used to be able to send out 5 Pac-Mans and that would deal with that sugar and stuff it into your fat cells. Now, the same amount of sugar comes in, but now you need 10. Now you need 10 or 20 Pac-Mans to come out and deal with that sugar and stuff it into your fat cells. And yes, that's what's happening. So you're getting all that glucose stuffed into the fat cells, right? So hyperinsulinemia is a pathological state. And we need to think about fat adaptation rather than constant sugar dependence. So we think about, I need some sugar to get my energy. That's not really true. Sugar is not the only way that you're going to get your energy. So when you become fat adapted, your body will burn fat for fuel. It will burn fat for energy. That is what is happening when you see all these influencers talking about low carb and keto and carnivore. Is because when you become fat adapted, now you no longer need that glucose added in order to have energy. I think about there was a commercial some years back about this little old granny. She was crotchety and she was cranky. She was fussing, and they told them to, give her a candy bar. They gave her a Snickers bar, and she ate the Snickers bar and turned into a football player. I mean, like, you need glucose for energy. You need that sugar for energy, but you don't, because your body can burn fat for fuel. And if you have fat on your body, then that fat can be burned for fuel, and you do not have to wear that fat around on your body. Okay. Hey, Lance, thank you for stopping by. Lance is listening while cooking and taking care of my wife who has influenza A. I'm sorry to hear that your wife is not feeling well. Yes, take care of her. Take good care of her. She's a woman of wisdom, and we definitely appreciate her. So thank you for stopping by, Lance. I appreciate you. And then Simpson is here. Hey, Simpson, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. All right. So it doesn't talk about fat adaptation. We still need it's saying you still need these sugars. You don't. Okay. And then what about fasting or intermittent fasting, mealtime eating, time restricted eating? reducing the number of times that you are eating per day. When you are on a primarily meat-based way of eating, or even a ketogenic way of eating, you may find that you automatically eat less times per day. What does that mean? Less times per day that your glucose is being spiked and that you have insulin. So you're having more level insulin levels throughout the day, and allowing your body to burn fat. So fasting is very, very beneficial. And so that's something that you can consider is time restricted eating. Like, I'm going to eat for 8 hours and fast for 16 hours a day. And we know that we're fasting while we're sleeping in general, unless you're waking up to eat in the middle of the night. And so, most people are fasting at least maybe 8 or 10 hours, but you can increase that amount of fasting that you're doing. So this new guidance does not talk at all about fasting or time restricted eating at all. And then we know, I'm going to just say for myself and for most of the people that I know, that moderation, when they say everything in moderation, most of us are not moderators. There are some of us that can moderate things and do well. But in general, most of us are not moderators. And so moderation is I think is a trick of the enemy. That's what I call it. It's a lie. It does not work. Moderation. I'm not a moderator. I'm a person who is like, I'm going to eat the whole bag of Doritos. If I was to eat a Dorito, I'm not going to eat any, right? And so, yes, Simpson, the new guidance puts a cap of 10% saturated fat. So that's problematic. All right. So let's reimagine the food pyramid as what we think would be best, right? So the way they flipped the pyramid upside down, where the big parts at the top and the small parts at the bottom, let's go that way. So at that top base, we are looking at animal-based protein, primarily red meat. Ruminant animals, which mean animals that chew the cud, like cows, goats, sheep, deer, bison. That's what would be at the top. And then, of course, you have chicken and pork and fish and all of those other things that you can consume as well. To me, I think that ruminant animals are the top of the line. They're the top of the food pyramid. Natural fats are next. In fact, I almost want to flip that around and put fat at the top, because you need to eat fat. You need fat for your brain health. You need fat for every single cell in your body. And we have basically been taught a lie that fat is causing problems for us when it's not. Okay. So natural saturated fat. When I say natural saturated fat, I'm talking about things like beef tallow. I know they fry in French fries and beef tallow now, but does beef tallow cancel out the fact that the fry is a high carb food item? I don't know about that. So, but anyway, it's better than frying it in canola oil or vegetable oil, peanut oil, all those oils, right? So, but yes, natural fats such as beef tallow, duck fat, even bacon grease, lard. Yeah, I know it sounds kind of crazy. Even as I'm saying it, I'm like, dang, that sounds really weird. Like, it sounds really weird. So I get it. I get it. Utilization of electrolytes. Certainly, if you are a person who is switching or converting to a ketogenic lifestyle, you're going to want to incorporate electrolytes into your way of eating. But yes, a balanced or a reimagined food pyramid, from my perspective, would include electrolytes, which is sodium, potassium, and magnesium. And so, how do you get those? You can make them yourself at home. You can add salt to your water. You can, buy some expensive electrolytes over, online, things like salty or element electrolytes. Those things are needed. And then what should your meal timing be? Should you be doing some level of time restricted eating? And as you get into a ketogenic way of eating, you're going to naturally eat less times a day. It just happens automatically. And then the middle segment should be non-starchy vegetables. I don't consider that a potato and a head of cabbage are the same thing. They're both vegetables, but they're not in the same category because of the amount of sugar, right? And so non-starchy vegetables could be there. And then also maybe some fermented foods could be there, right? So things like kefir or sauerkraut, kimchi, fermented foods, things like that. And then, so what about fruit, grains? For me, dairy is a problem. I do not think that fruit is mandatory. So if my food pyramid included fruit at all, it would include it as optional, but only in certain cases. Only if you're like extremely metabolically healthy, like you have no metabolic disorder at all, then maybe you could consider having fruit. Then what kind of fruit do you eat? Like, the fruit is sugar, it's fructose. So you're going to be having a problem with that. Grains are unnecessary in your diet. So I would not probably have, in my reimagined food pyramid, I probably would not have grains because they're unnecessary in the human diet, right? And then dairy, some people can tolerate dairy. So, but dairy does have casomorphins, is highly addictive, and causes a lot of health problems. So certainly if you have eczema or any kind of autoimmune condition, you should consider eliminating dairy at least for a time to see if it's causing problems for you. I sort of realized, I think, that dairy was an issue, but I was a cheese lover, you guys. I love cheese. Still to this day, I sometimes think about eating a little bit of cheese, but what I know is that it's going to cause my eczema to flare up. And so removing it for a time can help you determine whether or not it really is causing you a problem. So I eliminated cheese. I eliminated heavy cream. So sad, you guys, because y'all, I was like, I love to make my own homemade Alfredo sauce. I love to have heavy cream in my coffee. So good. If you guys watch some of my videos from back when I was first starting, even for the first 2 years on carnivore, I was still using heavy cream in my coffee. And I finally ended up having to eliminate it because I kept having these flare-ups, blisters on my hands. Finally, I had to eliminate. The very last thing was sour cream. I was like, I'm going to just hold on to the bitter end to this sour cream. But come to find out, it really is problematic for me. The last time I had it, blisters in the hands. So dairy can be problematic, but some people can tolerate dairy. So maybe a little bit of optional dairy. I would not be including any refined carbs at all, no seed oils, and no sugar, period. No sugar. We don't need it, right? So while I do believe that this pyramid is a great step in the right direction, I think a lot of people, if they decide to utilize this new food guidance, are going to see some benefit from it. But I do think that there is further that it could go, right? So when we think about metabolic health, it doesn't go far enough to address metabolic health, right? It does put meat back on the table, which I'm so happy about. I've been telling my family and friends and anybody who would listen, you need to eat more meat. Like, regardless of what else you're eating, you still need to eat more meat. Put some more meat back on the table. Don't be afraid of the fat. Don't be afraid to cook and eat in animal fat. We've been told that animal fat like lard and bacon grease and beef tallow is dangerous. And it's just, it's just truly not. That's not honest. It is not nutrition transparency. It's problematic. So this new food pyramid is not going to necessarily control or let me say, eliminate the huge metabolic problem that we have with insulin resistance and metabolic syndrome in this country or in this world right now. It's a huge, huge problem. And so there's no one answer that's going to work for everybody's metabolic state. And so it's a broad sweep, right? It's a broad sweep. And so I'm happy. I'm happy to see these changes, and I'm hoping that they will continue to drive towards additional changes in the future, getting us more toward a true metabolic health, a world where everybody is metabolically healthy. I want you to go back and look at some pictures of people from like the 50s, and what did they look like? Or even, like in the 70s, I look at my pictures of my parents in the 70s, and everybody was trim, they weren't struggling with these weight issues and metabolic health issues the way we are today. And so I'm really hoping and looking for a time that people will realize that the food is the problem. And so that's why I'm out here shouting about it. That's why I'm out here talking about it. You guys have any questions for me? Let me know who's still in the chat. Let me know where you are watching from. Thank you guys for being here with me tonight. I'm sorry that I'm not sure what happened with my guest. I'm sure I will get her back. I'll be changing the title of this. So I wanted to talk about this anyway, and I was going to be looking for an opportunity to talk about the new food pyramid because it's so, so important. Because honestly, a lot of us do follow this guidance. The beneficial thing is that now, if you think about what doctors and nutritionists and medical practitioners are going to be able to say around food and eating, it's really, really good. They're going to be able to tell people that, that you should really, really reduce the amount of fiber, or not fiber, but grains that you're eating. And you should really, really increase the amount of meat that you're eating. Of course, along with that will come the vegetables because of the way this food pyramid is designed. So let me see if I can bring it back up. Hold on a second. Lord, let me see. I'll share my screen. Eat Real Food. So the website is eatrealfood.gov. Basically, they've made an announcement about the change. America's sick. The data is clear 100%. Like, we can look around us and see that America is very, very sick, right? I don't know why they made this website so difficult to use, though. That's one thing I'm a little bit confused about, is why y'all's website is like not easy to use. So anyway, here it comes, slowly but surely. Protein, dairy, and healthy fats is the first portion of it. So in here, they've got the meat, they got the cheese, you got, looks like some olive oil, salmon, eggs, yogurt, canned fish, which is like maybe sardines or tuna. It's got avocado, shrimp. It's got a little bit of nuts, some butter, and I don't know what that is necessarily, and then some more nuts. So then we got vegetables and fruits. Oh, come on up. Vegetable, fruits, and whole grains. And so, yes, I think, hey, Simpson, it says it's better, but of course needs further work. Hopefully it will be even better in 5 years. I really, really hope so. Even if people change to this and extremely minimize their whole grains, eat meat and vegetables, a small amount of fruit, maybe, they're going to see some benefit. I do believe that we'll see some benefit from it. So I'm happy that we have made this change and flipped this thing upside down. It really, really is great news for us. And so that's pretty much it. That's what I wanted to talk about. Lance says, I like how the site adds the healthy foods to the left first. The first half is the real human diet, right? The right half and bottom are starvation foods. Exactly. That's exactly right, Lance. I would not be eating that unless I absolutely had to. Honestly, I'm not going to eat anything from the right-hand side, which is the vegetables and fruit side, or the very bottom, which is the whole grain side, unless I absolutely have to. Like there's some kind of issue and I cannot get meat for some reason, something like that. So that's pretty much where I'm at with it. It's starvation food. And so, yeah, this is what I wanted to, I'm glad I had an opportunity to come in here and talk about this tonight. I'm definitely going to do some more digging into it and see what studies they're using to inform this new food guidance. What are their plans going forward for things like hospitals and schools and, institutions, even the military, right? Where these food guidelines will be highly impactful for different institutions. So I'm going to be super interested to see kind of how this rolls out. And so there is lots of information up here on this website. So check it out at realfood.gov and see what you think. If you guys are interested in having a conversation about it, drop me some comments down in the chat. Thank you, Lance. I appreciate you. Lance says, sorry your guest didn't make it, but you still had a great night. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm glad we had an opportunity to talk about this because it's so, so important. We do, on the whole, follow the guidance in general, right? So I want to say, like, overarching, even though a lot of us eat a lot of junk food and stuff like that, we generally follow this kind of guidance. And so I think this is going to be really, really beneficial in that way. All right, you guys. I didn't see any questions, but I do see that Simpson is hoping healing for Lance's wife. We have had the flu, lots of different people getting sick. Oh my goodness, just sickness all over the place. So I hope everybody will stay well and healthy. I can tell you that when I got sick, if you guys know Nurse Laura Russell at Russell Brands site, I think it is, you can go on there and order her elderberry tincture. It really, really is good. I had that when I got sick last week. And it was excellent. And I diffused my essential oils and I got well pretty quick. But, it's lots of nasty bugs going around. So thank you guys for being here with me tonight. I want to mention that I am doing health coaching. So I have a program that I developed. It's called the 90-Day On-Ramp. And it is for people who need to have support in transitioning away from a standard American diet into a ketogenic way of living, or eliminating sugar from your lifestyle. And so you can definitely find out more information about that on my website, which is CarnivorousGrama.com. I'm going to take this down here. CarnivorousGrama.com. www.CarnivorousGrama.com. And so basically that 90-day on-ramp is a 90-day, I call my program a high touch program because it is individualized. We start out with an initial discovery session, a 1-hour conversation. We talk all about you and discover what your goals are, what is your why, and come out of that 1-hour session with a plan and strategy for you individually for what you're going to do over 90 days to achieve your goals and address your why. So, and then it also has a number of individual sessions. It has group coaching. It has community aspects. So lots of different aspects to it. So I call it a high touch coaching program. So if you're interested in learning more about that, you can check that out at my website. And right now, of course, we know that it's World Carnivore Month. In the month of January, it's a great time to try carnivore. Even if you want to try a 7-day trial, this is what happened to a lot of people that are within my community, is that they said, I'm going to try it for 7 days. I'm going to just try 7 days because they were afraid maybe to try the full 90 days. So they did 7 days, 7 days, 7 days. And some of them are still doing it today. Or maybe they discovered that, if I eat certain foods, it causes me a great deal of inflammation. Maybe they saw some reversal of some of their chronic metabolic health conditions or autoimmune conditions. And so it's been really, really, really good. And so if you're looking for that kind of community support, if you're looking for that type of a program, I'm happy to have a conversation with you about that and provide. Oh, thank you, Galen. Galen is saying best coach ever. I appreciate that. So yeah, we definitely want to help you and guide you through it. Work through any issues that you're having, and people do struggle because it's a big change, but we want to make sure that you can make it through and find out what the food is actually doing to you. And actually eliminate the sugar. That's really the primary thing, is to eliminate the sugar. So come and check me out. Check out my coaching program at my website. And then I also want to mention to you that I do have a show on Monday evenings at 7:00 p.m. Eastern Time. It's called Hey Sister Girl. And we talk all about eliminating sugar from your diet. So this is what we are all about. We are all about healing the world with food. Like it's the food that is the problem. As I've been talking about tonight, it is the food that is the problem. And so we want to change your food and change your life, change your mindset and change your life. And so it can really, really be beneficial. So check me out at Hey Sister Girl on Monday evenings. Also at 7:00 Eastern Time. All right, you guys, that is going to be it for tonight. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk and talking about the new food pyramid. All right, y'all. I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.